All right, hey friends, Kirsten here with Whole Life Freedom. Hope you're getting ready for the holidays. I've got my deer reindeer shirt on and my tree in the background. I'm glad to kind of see this Christmas roll around. And I hope that your holidays are going well so far. It's a very different year, of course, but let's not dwell on that. Today I wanted to share a topic that I think will hopefully be really helpful for us as the holidays are here and upon us. And even as we go into the new year, how we can kind of perceive ourselves and eating a lot differently. And that is through a concept called eating intuitively, or intuitive eating. There was a book in 95 called Intuitive Eating, but this concept has been around for a lot longer. And I even have taken a lot of my own spin and twist on it in really discovering ourselves and learning to love ourselves and be loved and honor ourselves with kindness and love. And this is something that really the health world has a huge challenge with. I think a lot of times when people think of getting healthy, or they think of going on a diet or losing weight, or, why am I just not ... Why don't I have the energy I need? Let me go grab a cup of coffee, or I'm not getting the sleep I need. Let me start taking some supplements or doing some different things to help my sleep. And, or go on another diet, or try a new fad, or try something that to fill in the blank. And all along the way, we end up really missing something that is paying attention to ourselves. And I believe that's why most diets end up failing. I think any diet truly can work. And at the same time, they all fail when we stop listening to ourselves, when we stop saying, what's really going on? What really got me to this place? And so this has been a long journey, even for myself. I think I've told this several times in different stories, but, as I was really learning to pay attention to kind of what was happening with me, my body had gotten to a point where it had shut down. I had such severe brain fog, I could hardly function. And really, I thought that it was more of an emotional issue. And so I kind of went down that track. But I realized that it was a combination of my emotional world, my physical world had stopped really paying attention to my physical body and what it needed to function well, and started kind of just living life and letting myself become defensive, really. Not defensive in the sense of I'm fighting for something, but living on the defensive when if something comes, I'll defend myself against it. But if not, I'm just living forward. And there's nothing wrong with that, but what happens if we don't live with intention is that things can sometimes pummel over us. I woke up one day and was 40 pounds overweight and didn't realize even how that happened. And, all of a sudden nothing was working. My gut didn't work, didn't want to digest any food. And I was in pain, and physically and emotionally and mentally. And those things don't just happen. We don't wake up one day with disease in our body one day. It's a progressive thing, and it happens over time, and it happens because of lifestyle choices we're making. But the good news is that God has designed our bodies to heal given the right environment. We're not only designed to heal, but we're designed to thrive in the right environment. And we're actually wired to be able to hear our bodies and what they're saying. Sometimes we crave a food and we think, oh, what's wrong with me? I have this craving. But cravings are actually telling us something. And that's what intuitive eating is really all about. When I learned that, it was like a bomb exploded in my brain. Wait, oh, this craving is not my fault. This craving is not because I am a bad person, or this craving is not because I just can't control myself. We've been taught, oh, if you've got these cravings or you just give in to food, just control yourself. Just, don't make sure you don't ever have that food inside the house. If you give in to ice cream, never have ice cream in your house unless it's a special occasion. And while that can be helpful when you're trying to kind of cleanse your body or reset or do things like that for a moment, that still demonstrates that the actual issue hasn't been resolved. Okay? So just think about that for a minute. If you have to put things out of sight in order to overcome them forever, we're still missing the fact that there's something going on the inside that's not being touched on. And so the very first part of learning intuitive eating is to become intuitive. And that might sound obvious, but I haven't seen that very many places. And so this is something that I really feel is extremely important, is finding out what's happening on the inside of you and kind of learning to pay attention to that. And you've heard me say this several times if you've listened to any of my videos or podcasts or blogs, but journaling is such a powerful way of getting in touch with that I recommend everyone every day do a brain dump and just get the thoughts out on paper. And then, because it's only in the darkness of our mind, and your mind's not dark, but it's kind of hidden in there, that things get blown way out of proportion. And what happens though is that when they get blown out of proportion, we actually disengage from it. We actually do two things. We either completely disengage from these thoughts and just kind of almost get disconnected from them, or we get overwhelmed by them and just they're blown way out of proportion, almost like they become this huge monster that we don't know how to control. And so one of the things that we want to do is really just honor the thoughts and emotions that are happening on the inside of us. A lot of times, why is it that every diet is helpful? Why is it that every, calorie counting is helpful? It's because it sets up a parameter for us to follow. But they're not meant to be parameters that guide us forever. They're meant to be there for a minute to kind of reset the needs of our body. Maybe we've given in to sweets because it's been the holidays for a while and we set up a little mini parameter for ourselves that helps us. But again, if we don't exit out of that, if we don't have an exit strategy for listening to our body and what it needs, then we will just cycle back into the same patterns and habits. So how do you do that? So what if you don't have just an exit strategy, but you have a living strategy? This is the holiday seasons when I'm filming and recording this right now, but at the same time, we can do this at any time in our life. So whenever you're tuning in, may this be helpful for you. But this is a season when we have more food than we even know what to do with. Even in all the COVID stuff, I'm sure there are many of us that we have desserts and foods and all kinds of things because it's been tradition. And if you don't start with the concept of being kind to yourself and loving yourself and honoring your thoughts and emotions, then it's going to be really hard. Because at the end of the day, what's wrong with enjoying that food and being present with yourself, loving yourself and enjoying it? There's nothing wrong with that. There's actually everything good about doing that. That they've done studies that the same person eating a chocolate cake under stress is going to have a very different experience of that cake digesting in their body than someone eating a chocolate cake and just loving themselves and enjoying it and eating it in peace. Your body shoots out different chemicals. So enjoy yourself, love yourself, start your day in a place of peace and honoring yourself. But also listen to what your body is saying and what your heart is saying, what your mind and your thoughts are saying. A lot of times we turn to food to fulfill a void. And, you know, when that's not always a problem. If we want to celebrate something, that's okay, celebrate, but know what you're doing and be intentional and be awake when you're doing it. A lot of times if we kind of tune out, that's where the problems start to happen. We've kind of tuned out the noise and we disengage a bit. And so be present. And one of the ways to be present is to slow down. And you've heard it said that we should really allow 20 minutes for our digestive system and our body to recognize that it's full. And that's true. You might have also said you're supposed to chew your food a certain amount of time. Really what that does is it slows down your chewing. I know that I myself, I used to be able to eat an entire massive burrito without thinking, and all of a sudden 20 minutes later I'd be so full I'd be in pain. And that's because I would eat it to fulfill the hunger, and I would just go past my ability to eat it because I wouldn't slow down. And learning to slow down, but here's the thing, if we slow down and just start taking deep breaths and being aware as we eat, we're doing that slowly in process, being present with our food, being present with ourselves, letting our body and our soul and our spirit just kind of get engaged. We're going to have a much more enjoyable experience when we do that. You get to taste your food. So many times we don't really even taste our food fully. What would happen if you smelled it and you paid attention, you put your fork down after every bite and just were thankful that you had food today? Wow, that even just slows you down right there. But one way of not feeling like we have to go quickly through our food is not coming to our meals completely hungry. One of the things to do that is, the best way to do that is to be fully hydrated. And that, no one really likes to drink the water that they're supposed to drink, but we're really supposed to drink way more than we ever do. And you can go back and listen to or watch my podcast on drinking water, but there are so many benefits on drinking that water. Carry your water bottle around with you, be hydrated. But a lot of times we think that we're hungry and we're really just thirsty. And so the first thing I recommend is before every meal and throughout your day, drink a big glass of water on a regular basis. Make sure that you're getting hydrated so that you can actually hear what true hunger is in your body. And, whenever, this time of season, this time of year ends up bringing up a lot of emotional challenges and struggles. So again, keep coming back to, how am I doing? How is it going? How's Kirsten doing? That's something that I used to ask a lot, is just, how am I doing? And it sounds like a funny thing to ask. We're so good at asking other people that, but we don't often think of asking ourselves, how am I really doing? Let me check in. How are my thoughts doing? How's my heart doing? Is my body telling me anything? That's something that I like to ask still. Is my body telling me anything? You've heard me mention before, but I love chips. I love chips. And, I keep those chips in the house because if I notice myself mindlessly grabbing a bag of chips, I like to pause and go, what's happening? Wait, what's going on? Oh, that deadline for work? That's got you a little stressed out, hasn't it? Let's talk about that for a minute and just have that moment with myself where I actually acknowledge what's really going on. And then what can happen is I can take a deep breath, pull out, a small handful of those chips and then enjoy them and actually take a minute and pause. And having acknowledged, though, that there was some stress happening, I can actually deal with the stress. And it now becomes a whole experience where that stress is now no longer affecting me, because I acknowledged it. So good. Thank you for joining in with me on this process. I hope this is helpful for you. Um, a couple of other things to kind of pass your way in thinking about this is, as I mentioned, slowing down can be really helpful. They've done studies where people who have done just a 30-day time period of doing nothing with their food, nothing with their lifestyle, other than simply slowing down. In everything that they do, just taking a breath, tuning in, eating every meal a little bit slower. People lost weight, people gained energy, ailments in their bodies healed. They saw different diseases disappear. Why? Because a lot of times we're going just too fast to pay attention to ourselves. And so we're not designed that way. We're actually designed with the capability to hear what's going on and to listen to it. If you're tired, maybe you need to take a break. Maybe even just a 5-10 minute break. Take that break and be still for a little bit. So hey, maybe as the New Year resolution is coming up, maybe you don't do a diet, maybe you do a slow down challenge. And what would happen if I slowed down for 30 days and just listened? How am I doing? Slow down even in conversations, listening to people, listening to yourself, taking time for those things that matter. All right, yeah. And a couple of other things to kind of put in there for the intuitive eating element is learning to actually listen to what true hunger is. A lot of times we associate blood sugar crashes with hunger. And the reality is that's actually not the case. A lot of times blood sugar crashes is really, unless you are truly hypoglycemic, which most people who think that they are not. You really need to get tested by a doctor to determine that. And a lot of times it's actually our body detoxing unhealthy food that we've had. The healthier and healthier your food gets, the more and more plants I started to have in my diet, the more healthy I got in my diet, I didn't really have blood sugar crashes anymore. And I used to have them a lot. After almost every meal, if I didn't eat every 2 to 3 hours, I would crash and tank. But the healthier and healthier I ate, the more energy I had, the less aches and pains I had, and the less crashes I had. And so, listening to what is actually speaking to me. Am I really hungry, or is this something that my body is trying to say? Am I just having a little bit of a detox moment? Do I need to kind of close my eyes? Do I need to listen in? And then lastly is respecting your body's fullness. One of the things I love recommending is try a week of eating till you're 80% full. And for me and the generation that I was raised in, we were raised to clean our plates. You do not leave any food on that plate. And boy, I was good at that and still am. And so eating till I'm 80% full, it really requires you to slow down and listen to your body. Am I full? We are so good at tuning out and going fast that we don't recognize we're full until 20 minutes after our meal. But what would happen if you slowed down? You take that 30-day slow down challenge and you start actually going right up to that line, but not pressing into it, and just allowing yourself to be comfortably full. And this is something that those in the longevity zones, in the blue zones, places in the world that live to 100 consistently, that's something that they do. There's actually sayings that they go by. They don't do it for a diet. They just do it like they eat until they're about 80% full, and then they're done. And it's commonly known, and it really helps your body to heal. It helps your body to not get overloaded and stressed out and shoot stress hormones into your body because now you're so full. And it's really causes peace in your whole system. You get to go, oh, wow, I finished early and I don't have to finish everything on my plate. And I can just enjoy the time something that I've really enjoyed doing during holiday seasons is challenging myself to that and challenging myself to enjoy my time with the people I'm with, rather than focusing on trying to eat everything in the kitchen and eat everything on my plate. But what would happen if I'm just fully present for the people I'm around and the people I'm with? And that's what this season is really about, right? But that's what the time around the table is about also. So beyond the holiday season, we get to take this into our days and say, how can I really learn to see movement and food and fueling and all of that from a place and perspective of just an element of learning to love myself, learning to be loved and to love the people around me. So bless you in this season, and I'd love to hear how this is going. I've got a free PDF if you'd like to check it out and download it to go even deeper into this topic. So enjoy, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.